Today, we explore how Ukraine could avoid being exhausted by the war. Our conclusion is clear: military aid, while vital, is not enough. Ukraine's survival depends on a three-pronged strategy that includes military innovation, a united society, and a relentless fight against corruption.
Now, as of September 3rd, 2025, a month of new information has emerged. From Russia's military claims to a high-stakes geopolitical summit in China, a lot has happened.
Let's start with the front line. Russia's military leadership, including General Gerasimov and Defense Minister Belousov, has made some bold claims about their advances in August. Gerasimov, for instance, stated they had seized 3,500 square kilometers of territory and 149 settlements since March 2025.
But independent assessments from sources like the Institute for the Study of War tell a very different story.
Their analysis shows Russia actually gained only about 2,300 square kilometers and 130 settlements in the same period.
That's a huge discrepancy. By inflating their gains, the Kremlin hopes to create a false narrative of inevitable victory, aiming to convince the West that continued aid to Ukraine is pointless.
However, the real numbers are far more devastating for Russia. This brutal war of attrition is proving unsustainable. Russian opposition outlets report that the number of soldiers who died in 2024 nearly doubled compared to 2023, and the Center for Strategic and International Studies, CSIS, projects that total casualties will hit the 1 million mark by the end of the summer.
These are not just numbers. They represent a fundamental, long-term vulnerability in Russia's ability to sustain this war.
Ukraine's response to this is a true masterclass in asymmetric warfare. Instead of fighting Russia head-on, Ukraine is striking at the source of the Kremlin's power, its economy. On Independence Day in August, Ukraine publicly unveiled two new indigenous long-range missiles, the Long Neptune and the Sapson. These are not just for show, they have a purpose. In August, Ukraine's unmanned systems forces used these capabilities to strike deep inside Russia, hitting oil refineries and military infrastructure to degrade Russia's ability to fund and fuel the war machine.
This is complemented by a huge surge in drone production. Since January, Ukraine has delivered over 1 million drones to its military units, with a goal of 2 million by year's end.
This is thanks to a revolutionary, decentralized procurement model that is so agile, the US Pentagon is now adopting it to speed up its own military innovation. But the war is also being fought far from the battlefield. A major development in August was a summit of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, or SCO, in China. This was a high-profile gathering that brought together leaders from Russia, China, India, and other nations. The message from President Putin and President Xi was loud and clear. They are united in creating a new, multipolar world order that stands as a direct counterweight to the West. They framed Western sanctions as discriminatory and bullying behavior, a narrative designed to undermine the legitimacy of the coalition supporting Ukraine.
Critically, this summit highlighted a key vulnerability in Western policy itself.
The US has tried to cultivate India as a key partner against China, but recent American tariffs and rhetoric are pushing India closer to China and Russia. India's presence at this summit shows a new, pragmatic realignment that challenges years of bipartisan Western foreign policy and gives a huge boost to the anti-Western coalition.
This isn't just diplomacy. It's a strategic effort to chip away at the international consensus against Russia.
Finally, we have the most critical and often overlooked front, the internal battle for morale and legitimacy. Russia knows it can't defeat Ukraine's spirit on the battlefield, so it's trying to break it from within.
Moscow is actively weaponizing Ukraine's democratic processes. Because Ukraine is under martial law, the constitution legally bars them from holding elections. Russia deliberately uses this fact to spread disinformation, arguing that the Ukrainian government is illegitimate. This tactic is designed to create public cynicism and erode the trust that is so crucial for a population to endure a long war.
This is where the perception of corruption, regardless of the specific facts, is a potent weapon. If a population believes their leaders are corrupt, it can destroy their morale and their willingness to make sacrifices. A soldier at the front who sees a corrupt official enriching himself from the war will question what he's fighting for. This feeling of injustice and an uneven burden of war can be just as deadly to a nation's spirit as a missile, and it provides a perfect pretext for some Western allies to reduce or even halt their aid.
So, do our original conclusions still hold up? Absolutely. The military, geopolitical, and internal fronts are more interconnected than ever. Ukraine's victory depends not just on its brave soldiers and innovative weapons, but on a strategic defense of its internal cohesion.
To avoid exhaustion, Ukraine must win on all three fronts. It needs to continue its asymmetric war of attrition against Russia's military-industrial complex. It needs sustained Western aid and a more unified diplomatic front to counter the emerging non-Western coalition. And most importantly, it must treat transparency and the fight against corruption not as a choice, but as a strategic imperative for its very survival. Thank you for watching. For a full in-depth report on this topic and a complete list of all the sources used, please check out the link in the video description.
Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give us a like. You can subscribe to the channel if you want to join the conversation in the comments. And if you'd like to be notified whenever we upload a new video, just click the notification bell. A warm greeting from the Central Europa channel, and see you soon.